Hey guys, it's Tealus here, and I am back inside the Heart of Azeroth, ready to bring you the final of the 3 Shaman specs coming in World of Warcraft Legion. This time we will be looking at Elemental Shamans, and the changes they will be receiving in World of Warcraft Legion. I'm actually pretty impressed with what they have changed with Elemental Shamans. They're getting somewhat the same treatment as Enhancement. If you remember from the Enhancement video, things drastically changed for Enhancement. A lot of it was because they received a new Enhancement received a new resource to manage, and that is the same thing that has happened to Elemental. Elemental received the same new resource, which is going to be Maelstrom. So we will go through that. This is going to be a 2-video series. In this first video, we will look at the removed, changed, and new abilities for an Elemental Shaman. And then in the second video, we will look at the PvP and PvE talents for an Elemental Shaman. Also in this video, we will look at the artifact weapon for an Elemental Shaman. Just looking at it here, it is known together as the Fists of Ra-Den, and this is just really cool. I love this shield. This is one of my absolute favorite artifact weapons, but this is the shield for it. As you can see, I have a little fist right here, and then the shield is just so simple. I like the simple shield that's on the character. Mostly because, you know, sometimes there are some characters in which you don't want like a huge bulky shield, and this is a really small shield, and yet it has that elemental aspect of it with the kind of circulating wings, so it's really cool. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it and take a look at the removed, changed, and new abilities for an Elemental Shaman. I'm going in that order so you can see just how much has changed, how things are different, and then once we're done with that, we will look at the artifact weapon for an Elemental Shaman. Now, before I get started, I did mention that there is a new resource, just the same as Enhancement Shamans, for Elemental Shamans, and it's going to be Maelstrom. It works like Astral Power, I guess you could say, for a Balanced Druid. It's just something where, you know, certain abilities build it up, and then you expend it using different abilities. I guess you could say that this is the ranged version of Rage, so to say. It's the ranged version of Rage and Fury. You know, you have your hunters, which kind of have their focused version, focus, which is their version of energy, and then you have everyone else using mana of some sort. This Maelstrom is the Rage version, Rage and Fury version of ranged classes. So that is what Maelstrom and Astral Power do for Shamans and Druids, respectively. So basically, let's start going through the removed abilities and then the changed abilities, and you'll see just how this functions. Hopefully it won't be too noisy. There are a lot of people out here today playing around, testing stuff, but we should be good. There's plenty of space out here. So I'm going to stick to this training dummy on the right-hand side to test out this stuff for you. But let's get into the removed abilities. First, Ascendance is gone. It is now a talent, so there's something you can talent into. That's something that's baseline across all of the Shaman specs. They basically lost Ascendance, but it is in their PvE talent tree. Capacitor Totem has been removed, and it comes back as a talent under a new name, a really lame name, as you've heard me describe before. I believe the new name is called Lightning Surge Totem. I don't know why they just didn't call it Capacitor Totem. I don't know, but it's still an option for you, but it is gone. You'll start to notice as we go through these that totems are really kind of out of style. They've kind of gotten rid of totems as a whole. You'll see a lot of totems with Restoration, being able to put them down. Elemental, you'll see less, and then Enhancement, there are pretty much no totems. So the totem playstyle is there, but the whole, I have to set up my whole range of totems in order to actually really deal damage is gone, which I really do like. Earthbind Totem has been removed. This is pretty crippling for PvP. I know it really doesn't affect much in PvE, but it is pretty crippling in PvE, so it's disappointing to see that one go. However, I do believe in the PvE talent tree, they still have Earthbind Totem, so you still, or Earthgrab Totem, so you still have that ability for some kind of mobility reduction in PvP to root some people. Grounding Totem has been removed. That is now a Resto PvP only talent, so it is not available to Elemental Shamans. Healing Rain has been removed. It is now an enhanced talent and a Resto baseline ability now. Elemental does not have any usage over Healing Rain anymore. Healing Stream Totem has been removed. It is now Restoration only. Lightning Shield has been removed. It is now an enhanced talent. Searing Totem has been removed. I'm actually pretty thankful for this because Searing Totem was so baseline for both Elemental and Enhance. And I'm glad they got rid of it. To be honest, I just really didn't think it was worth it, and I'm glad that it's gone now. Because you always had to have your Searing Totem up to be able to do maximum damage, and maybe that was okay in PvE, but in PvP it was kind of frustrating, so that is now gone. Shamanistic Rage has been removed. I'm not really sure why they removed this, the reasoning behind it, but I guess Blizzard just felt that there was no longer needed anymore. Spirit Walker's Grace has been removed. It is now resto only. This can be kind of crippling. I know in PvP, and even in PvE, this was kind of a big deal to have as DPS. You no longer have Lightning Bolt on the move. I believe that was removed last expansion, so now you really have no mobility with the fact that Spirit Walker's Grace has been removed, so that is going to be frustrating. Totemic Recall has been removed. As I said, basically the totem playstyle of having different totems down has been removed. They got rid of the restrictions on having certain totems down, so like you could only have like one air totem down, one fire totem down. That's now been removed. You can just put down totems whenever you feel like it. And so the whole reasoning behind Totemic Recall is just there's no reason for it anymore. Tremor Totem has been removed. No longer any reason to have that anymore. Unleash Flame has been removed. Unleash comes back in some talent trims. I do not believe it comes back in any form for an Elemental Shaman. That is correct. It does not come back for Elemental Shamans. It is gone. So you will not have access to Unleash Flame anymore. Mastery Molten Earth has been removed. If I remember correctly, that was a pretty boring mastery. And so it's basically just been taken out of the game. You will have a new mastery that is very familiar. And honestly, it really, to me, it's more aligned with Elemental than any of the other stuff. So I'm glad that this mastery I'm very happy with this new mastery, and I think you guys will be too. Elemental Overload is gone. At least the ability. You'll see it back soon. Fulmination is gone. That was kind of the change to Earthshock to make it deal more damage and so forth. And Grace of Air is gone. Basically anything that gave a passive buff to the raid has been removed. I will say, with all those removals, that's all of them. That's all the removals for Elemental Shaman. The class still plays somewhat similar to how it did on live, so I wouldn't be too disappointed. I'm actually liking where this is going, at least in a PvE aspect. In a PvP aspect, though, I can see where you can be nervous because you really have lost a lot of ability to keep people at bay while you deal damage. And that alone can be really frustrating. So with that, let's go ahead and look at the changed abilities. First is Ancestral Spirit. Its cast time has been increased by approximately 0.5 seconds. The numbers are really wonky between looking at live client and the actual client here. It's 9.23 cast here, and then on live client it's like 8.87 or something like that. I'm not quite sure. So I just said approximately 0.5 seconds. Really, it's not a big deal as far as the res is concerned. Astral Recall has had its cooldown reduced from 15 minutes to 10 minutes, so now a 10-minute on Astral Recall, which is really nice. Chain Lightning will now generate 4 Maelstrom per hit. So, Maelstrom starts at 0, just like your Rage and your Fury. If you don't know what Fury is, you'd have to take a look at Demon Hunters, but I guess for the moment I'll just refer to Rage because everyone kind of understands how Warriors and Rage works. You start at 0, and then there are certain abilities that can build it back up. In this case, Chain Lightning is one of them. So, as I use Chain Lightning, go ahead and use it here, I will be able to begin creating Maelstrom. And as you can see right here, it's starting to build up in my bar in the top hand left there. And it's kind of a blue textured bar. It's a lighter blue. You can compare it next to the mana bar, which is right underneath it. But it's kind of a textured light blue bar. So I'm at 38 Maelstrom now. And that's one of the abilities that builds up Maelstrom, is going to be your Chain Lightning. Next ability change is going to be Earth Elemental. Totem has been removed from the name, so it's just called Earth Elemental, and its cooldown has been reduced from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. So now you can just pop out your Elemental immediately, 2 minutes. Cooldown function is pretty much the same. It's just it's no longer called an Earth. It's no longer a totem now. It's just an Earth Elemental that travels with you and kills with you. Fun, fun, fun. So next ability to change is Earthshock, and this is where things start becoming quite different. Earthshock no longer costs any mana, and it no longer shares a shock cooldown. Know that all the shocks no longer share any type of shock cooldown at all, whatsoever. It has no cooldown because it's actually going to be using Maelstrom now. And since Maelstrom is not like mana, it's more of a finite resource that you're going to have to manage, you're able to take the cooldown off of it so that you can use Earthshock whenever. Now the cool thing about this is where the essence of Fulmination comes in. Now Fulmination, you could hold off on Fulmination and build those charges up, and then you could hit, for Earthshock really hard. Earthshock will cost anywhere from 10 to 100 Maelstrom, depending on how much there is. Right now I'm at 65 Maelstrom. I will use it, and it will burn it all the way down to, it looks like 17 was left. So it will burn a chunk of the Maelstrom, and it will deal damage based on that. So if I had full 100 maxed out Maelstrom, it would deal its maximum damage. So that is the great thing about having Earthshock, is that you can, if you want, you can hit it harder if you need to. If not, you can do it normally, and it will deal less damage. But Earthshock is still basically it's concussive force that deals nature damage based on the amount of Maelstrom spent. And I'm building up my Maelstrom right now. I'm using Chain Lightning because I haven't gotten to other abilities that generate Maelstrom. I should probably just go ahead and use Lightning Bolt, but we're almost there. And I'm at max right now, and and you see it highlights kind of like it did when Fulmination was at max. I can use it now, and it brought it all the way down to 25, so it really it trucks through it, which is really nice. And then it does maximum damage on that. That Earthshock did 225,000 nature damage. The last one, which was, I guess, quite some time ago, because of all the Chain Lightnings had to do, the last one was only 146,000, and that one was not at max. I was like at 70 Maelstrom at the time when that actually happened. Bloodlust, before I go into that, Earthquake Totem, it now actually has Totem in its name. It's the only time in which Totem has been, applied to something, and it kind of makes sense, to be honest, because it's actual, like a targeted AoE. It no longer has a cast time. It no longer costs mana. It no longer has a cooldown. And the reason why it no longer has a cooldown is because, once again, it costs Maelstrom. Anytime any of these new abilities cost Maelstrom, there's no reason for it to have a cooldown. Because if it had a cooldown, then, the additive of having a cooldown and having to cost Maelstrom would just be a little bit too much. So I'm going to go ahead and use Earthquake Totem. It costs 50 Maelstrom now. I can see right there, it has a totem right there, and then you can see the nice visual effect for it. I really do like it. Otherwise, Earthquake Totem functions exactly as it used to. It has a chance of knocking people down. Pretty nice ability. Next, we have a Bloodlust / Heroism. There's no longer a range limit of 100 yards. I was actually in a battleground yesterday testing some things on a Havoc Demon Hunter, and actually, as I was out there, I was so far away from wherever anything was going on, and I got bloodlusted, out of nowhere. And that's because the range is just, they cut out the 100-yard range on it, and now it just affects everyone. So if you cast Bloodlust, it can help anywhere, which is actually pretty ingenious. If you are, let's use a Wrathy Basin, for instance. If your team is having a big fight going on over at the, the lumber mill, and you're at the mine, as a shaman, you pop your Bloodlust to help out all of your allies all the way across the map. That's pretty cool. They're all in the same party, it'll affect all of them. Fire Elemental, once again, no longer has Totem in its name, and its cooldown has actually been increased from 2.5 minutes to 5 minutes. So that has had a nerf. So your Fire Elemental has had a big nerf. It lasts for 1 minute. Your Earth Elemental comes forth and lasts for 15 seconds. So there's a change there. I just realized that I did not check to see if it actually changed in the duration. I will double check on that and see if the duration of an Earth Elemental and a Fire Elemental has changed in conjunction with their changes to their cooldowns. And I'll relay that in the chat window, the information for this video at the bottom there. I'll double check on that, but do know that Fire Elemental now is on 5-minute cooldown and Earth Elemental is now on a 2-minute cooldown, so it changed there. Flame Shock. Once again, the shocks really had some major changes in this one here, and it's all due to Maelstrom. So Flame Shock now no longer costs mana, no longer has a cooldown, no longer shares a shock cooldown. This is the same thing going over and over again. It will now cost anywhere from 0 to 20 Maelstrom. So it can be for free. However, if you use it for free, it will have a length of 15 seconds. If you're able to use a full 20 Maelstrom, it will have a length of 30 seconds. So in PvE, you're just going to want to make sure that you're using it when you make sure you have 20 Maelstrom, so that you can get the full 30 seconds off of it so that you don't have to use it again. However, I don't know the theory crafting behind it, but maybe it might be more beneficial for you to, whenever you get if you can somehow work a way so that your Maelstrom is pretty much 0 when you use Flame Shock, it may be more beneficial to just use it at 0 because you're getting basically a free Flame Shock, but it's only going to be 15 seconds. So it's going to be really up to you. Frost Shock, same treatment. No longer costs mana, no longer has a cooldown, no longer shares a shock cooldown. But there are a lot of changes depending on your Maelstrom. It, just like Flame Shock, costs anywhere from 0 to 20 Maelstrom. Its damage and duration is dependent on Maelstrom. So it has a 100% increased damage at max Maelstrom. So if you have 20 Maelstrom or more, it will deal maximum 100% increased damage. Furthermore, if you're doing it at 0 Maelstrom, it will last 5 seconds. If you're doing it at 20 Maelstrom, it will last 10 seconds. That's changed from the baseline of 8 seconds, which it was back in World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor. So I will use Frost Shock right now. It will deal its damage, 22,000 frost damage, not much, but the chilling effect lasts for 10 seconds. In all reality, you're really using it for you're really using it for its kind of snare. You're not really using it for other reasons. Now, this is the one thing that is nice about being having to deal with a shaman. You know, before you had to rely on Earthbind Totem and Spirit Walker's Grace to get away from targets. A part of that was because Frost Shock shared a cooldown with the other shocks, and you had to deal with a lot of times if you wanted to do damage, you had to have those shocks to be used and so Frost Shock wasn't used very much. In this game, Frost Shock is going to be used a lot more because it has no cooldown. As you can see, I'm sitting here, I can just spam it. So I can spam 5-second snares on a target at any time and do whatever. And wow, there's a huge graphical glitch here on the ribbon coming off of my my weapon here. This is pretty cool. Just ignore this here. Maybe I can get out of combat and make the glove go away, and it will go away as well. So just take note, while you've lost a lot in terms of Earthbind Totem, Grounding Totem, Tremor Totem, and even Shamanistic Rage, one great thing to have is the fact that you no longer have to deal with Frost Shock no longer has a shared cooldown with other shocks, and it no longer has a cooldown period, so you're able to spam it as much as you want. Ghost Wolf can now prevent you from dropping below 100% movement speed. I can't remember where this was in the game. It was somewhere and I can't remember whether it was an enhancement or something, or a glyph. It might have been a glyph. I can't quite remember where it is, but I knew it was in the game somewhere. But it is now baseline for Ghost Wolf across, I believe, all specs. So you go into Ghost Wolf, you get the increased movement speed, and then it also cannot drop you below 100% movement speed. So that is a nice change to Ghost Wolf. Lava Burst no longer costs mana. It generates 12 Maelstrom, and it will only be a critical strike if Flame Shock is up, and it does not have increased damage for having Flame Shock on the target. So basically, the short and sweet, the TLDR of what that is basically we are reverting back to the old form of Lava Burst, in which you have to have basically Flame Shock on the target for it to crit. They did that quality of life change to where it would always crit no matter what, and then if you had Flame Shock on the target, it would deal even more damage, which kind of still kept the kind of idea that you needed Flame Shock on the target for you to actually deal better damage. But at the same time, you no longer lost that critical strike chance, that burst chance out of it. So the good news about this is that, as we discussed, just like Frost Shock, Flame Shock has no cooldown. You can sit here and spam Flame Shock all you want. So if you have to target switch really quickly, it's not a problem to quickly target switch and use your Flame Shock and then use your Lava Burst. So definitely a great change to it. Otherwise, everything about Lava Burst still functions essentially the same, and so you shouldn't have to worry about it. You still get the crits out of it and everything, which is really great. It looks like it was dealing plenty of damage too. It looks about almost 200,000 on the critical strike there, which is really nice. So with that, let's look at Lightning Bolt. This is your primary generator for Maelstrom, and it has a new spell visual. Lightning Bolt now generates 8 Maelstrom. Otherwise, it still functions the same, and you're going to see it's got like just a crack. That's a crack of lightning. So I like it. It's pretty cool. But this is how you'll really generate your Maelstrom now. And the effect you see on the target right now, I believe, comes from the artifact weapon. So don't get too excited about the regular abilities. You're gonna have to spec into that to get that. Everything else is essentially the same. We got a full Maelstrom there. We can do it there for 262,000 damage, which is pretty awesome. And that was flat without a crit, so that's pretty awesome. A lot of damage coming out of an Elemental Shaman. Hex has had its cooldown decreased from 45 seconds to 30 seconds. Nothing but good coming out of that. And then Wind Shear, once again, no longer costs mana. Basically, they got rid of mana cost for a lot of things that they felt did not need it. And so mana is now going to be... the mana cost is now going to be focused on things like Cleanse, Ancestral Spirit sure wouldn't have it, but your Cleanse Spirit will cost mana now, and your Healing Surge, and this will truck through your mana pretty quickly, so you have to be careful how much you use this. It looks like it takes about 5 of these to burn through my mana, a little bit more, so I'm going to guess that the mana cost of this is something like 22%, something like that. Somewhere around there, maybe. I'm not quite sure. 18%. My math's off. I'll let the mathematicians deal with that. But in addition to Wind Shear also being costing no mana, its range has been increased from 25 yards to 30 yards. So that is a nice buff to have, so that you have a 30-yard range on that interrupt. Otherwise, that is all the changed abilities for an Elemental Shaman. Even though it has gotten a new resource, I feel as though it still essentially plays the same way, and I think the biggest change and the most exciting change is the shocks being... Basically, the shocks have been overhauled. They've been released from their shackles of being all on this global cooldown, which really... this is like 4 expansions overdue. There really was no need for that anymore. So having Frost Shock on absolutely 0 cooldown helps you in PvP immensely. I would argue to say that the loss of Grounding Totem, Earthbind Totem, and Spirit Walker's Grace is easily mitigated by the fact that Frost Shock has no cooldown, and you can... it won't interrupt you having to put Flame Shock on any target. And then the Flame Shock being on no cooldown as well is such a huge quality of life change for hot switching targets in PvP. I really think the shocks have a great changes for PvP. Otherwise, in terms of PvE, I don't think your playstyle will change too much. I think things are going to be somewhat the same. There's going to be maybe some new rotations and so forth, maybe some new priorities, but you're going to feel pretty much essentially the same in PvE for an Elemental Shaman. Now, we have 4 new abilities for an Elemental Shaman. Astral Shift is coming off of the talent bar and into your baseline spellbooks. Functions exactly the same, 1.5 minute cooldown, shift partially into the elemental planes, taking 40% less damage for 8 seconds. So that still works essentially the same. There is Elemental Focus, so we have a lot of passives here. Elemental Focus, your direct damage spell critical strikes increased your damage and healing of your next 2 spells by 10%. You have Elemental Fury. Your damaging critical strikes deal 250% damage instead of the usual 200% damage. So it gives you a buff to critical strikes on Shamans, which is a lot of fun. And then lastly, we have Mastery. Elemental Overload. So I did mention, I tried to allude to this, that it's not completely gone. It's just been shifted into your mastery. Now, multi-strike has gone as a stat, so it had to completely overhaul it. And by overhaul it, they mean they went back to when it wasn't mastery. When it wasn't, multi-strike wasn't a stat in the game. So, your Lightning Bolt, Elemental Blast, Ice Fury, which is a talented ability, Chain Lightning, and Lava Burst have a 26% chance to trigger a second cast on the same target for 75% of the normal damage, and Maelstrom Generation. So, basically, 75% Maelstrom Generation, it's basically saying, if I get a proc off of a Lava Burst, okay, what will happen is, instead of, if I can get it, maybe I can get it to work with Lightning. So right there, we got 8 Maelstrom from one of the Lightning Bolts, and then we got 6 Maelstrom from the next one. So the second one will only give you 75% of that Maelstrom, so it'll be like 6 Maelstrom for a Lightning Bolt. It'll be only 3 Maelstrom for a Chain Lightning per target hit. It'll be only 9 Maelstrom for a Lava Burst. Small changes there, but otherwise no complaints, to be honest. For the most part, I think with all the changes here, I think you're going to like Elemental Shaman in both PvE and PvP. I think they've set things up so that it still feels very much like the old Elemental Shaman, but they actually give you a new resource to play around with. So now you're going to be able to say, okay, well maybe I should be using Flame Shock at full max stacks here, or maybe in this situation I need to be just quickly get off of Flame Shock so I can get the 15 seconds rolling really quick, and then I can build it up my Earth Shock really quickly. Or if you end up getting Ice Fury, which we will talk about in the PvP and PvE talent video, you may be looking towards using Frost Shock in your rotation, which will make things really interesting. So, with that, let's go ahead and take a look at this wonderful artifact weapon that is given to us. This is the artifact weapon, the Fist of Ra-Den. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ability we get out of it, which is Stormkeeper. Raises the Fist of Ra-Den to the sky and absorbs all electrical energy, causing the next 3 casts of Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning to deal 200% increased damage. This is basically a damage buff. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this here. I look like a boss. My fist is now, kind of on, I don't even know if it's like on electrical fire. I don't know. It's like it's surging with electricity, and I'm able to fire it off more. It's on a 1 minute cooldown, so it's a nice little 1 minute burst cooldown. That it's decent. I wouldn't say it's like incredible exciting, but it's a nice buff to have there. So with that, we will start in the northeast corner, kind of where Stormkeeper starts, and we'll go down to the southwest corner of this talent tree. The 3 epic portraits are obviously the ones that you really want the most. And you know, those are the like what you'll be gunning for the most part. When you start this, when you start going through your talent tree, you can be like, which one do I want the most? And that's probably what you're gonna be doing. That's how I'm gonna be treating this. Eventually, you want all of them, but that's where you'll be aiming for when you first start filling out your talent tree. The first one you're going to get here is Surge of Power, increases the damage dealt by Lightning Bolt by 15%, so straight damage buff. You have Firestorm, increases the damage dealt by Flame Shock by 30%. That's 3 ranks, so that's going to be 10% per rank. You have Electric Discharge, increases the damage dealt by Chain Lightning by 15%, so that's 5% per rank. You have Master of the Elements, increases the damage dealt by Elemental Overload by 12%. So every time you get that second hit on your Mastery, you're going to get an increase by 12% damage. 1 rank there. Elementalist, each time you cast Lava Burst, the remaining cooldown on your Fire Elemental is reduced by 2 seconds. So 5-minute cooldown is pretty big, so it's still about a 20% uptime. It's actually got better uptime than a Earth Elemental. Earth Elemental, I think, has half that. It's more like a 15% uptime, something like that. 1/8, I have no clue what 1/8 is. It's like that 1/8 is more like 12, 11% uptime, something like that. So it's got better uptime than that. It's got a 20% uptime. So, you know, getting that cooldown reduction on your fire elemental could end up being very useful. And if I see this coming to play, obviously more in a PvE setting, so that's gonna be really cool. In the middle here, we have Static Overload. Chain Lightning has a 10% chance to trigger Elemental Overload to trigger on every target. That's really cool, and I wish I had a better way of showing you this because these targets are so far apart. I do not think, even if I were to change targets, I would be able to hit another target because they're just so far apart. We could try on this one right here and see if it'll actually do it. I don't think it'll jump all the way across that one to the left. It won't. But that's pretty cool. I really do like that ability, that option that you have there. Here we have it, Shamanistic Healing. When your health drops below 35%, the Fist of Ra-Den heals you for 89,000. Can occur only once every 26 seconds. So this is a passive. Passive healing. 3 ranks, so I'm not quite sure where. I'm not quite sure like how much it will be per rank. It may be increased healing per rank. It may be maybe increased. I doubt it would be increased where your health drop. I'm pretty sure that's going to be static, 35% across all ranks. So it's either it will reduce how often it can occur per rank, or it'll increase the healing per rank. Most likely is that it'll increase the healing per rank. Up here we have Protection of the Elements. 3 ranks, increases the healing done by Healing Surge by 45%, so that'll be 15% per rank. In the middle here we have Molten Blast. Increases the critical strike chance damage dealt by Lava Burst. The critical strike damage dealt by Lava Burst by 10%. As long as you have Flame Shock up, that basically means that you're always going to have a 10% increase on your Lava Burst no matter what. 3 ranks, that'll be like 3, 7, and 10, or 3, 6, and 10 on the ranks there. Our first epic portrait is going to be Power of the Maelstrom. When you cast Lava Burst, you have a chance to supercharge the Fists of Ra-Den, causing your next 3 lightning bolts to trigger Elemental Overload an additional time. I actually believe that may have happened just a second ago, but we'll see if we can't get this to proc. I'll continue to use that and see if we can get that to work there on that. But when you cast Lava Burst, you have a chance to supercharge Fist of Ra-Den, causing your next 3 lightning bolts to trigger Elemental Overload an additional time. So I'm going to keep using Lava Burst to see if we can get it while I read through these other passives, and hopefully we will get it to show up. Down here we have the Ground Trembles, increases the damage dealt by Earthquake Totem by 15%. That's going to be 5% per rank there. 3 ranks. Down here we have Lava Imbued, increases the damage dealt by Lava Burst by 10%. So it'll be like 3, 7, and 10, 3, 6, and 10 on the ranks. Down here we have Call of the Thunder, increases the nature damage you deal by 3%. That's going to be 1% per rank. That's really a lame one, to be honest. Over here we have Earthen Attunement, increases the damage dealt by Earthshock by 12%, 3 ranks once again, so that'll be 4% per rank. And then we start getting into the other oh, I just got it right here. So Power of the Maelstrom, I can go ahead and now use lightning bolts, and I will get the double triggers on it really quickly. And this is going to build up my Maelstrom really quickly and allows me to put a lot of damage on there. So, you were able to see Power of the Maelstrom right there. Right before we got to Volcanic Inferno. Lava Burst, you've probably seen this. Lava Burst has a chance to open a fissure underneath your target, dealing 78,000 fire damage over 6 seconds to all enemies within 3 yards of the target. You saw this actually several times as I was trying to get Power of the Maelstrom to proc. Watch, now I'm only going to be able to get Power of the Maelstrom to proc. Okay, no, never mind. There it is right there. There is Volcanic Inferno. Really cool spell visual right there. It's just exploding lava underneath the target. Really cool. Our last epic is Fury of the Storms. Activating Stormkeeper summons a powerful lightning elemental to fight by your side for 8 seconds. So activating Stormkeeper. To be honest, I am not quite sure what Stormkeeper is. Okay. That's the name of the ability. My bad. So, Stormkeeper is the name of the ability. I'm so used to reading off raises the Fists of Ra-Den to the sky, you know, Fists of Ra-Den, Fists of Ra-Den, that I was not expecting Stormkeeper to actually be the name of the ability. But, let's see if we can go ahead and see this show up right here. Here is this wonderful Storm Elemental that I have, for 8 seconds. So, it lasts only a certain amount of time, but that is the last epic artifact weapon that you have. So when you actually use that, you better make sure that you're in combat with someone, or else that guy's gonna just sit there like he did right there and be like, ho hum, dum dum, you know, kind of twiddle his thumbs to you actually attacking a target. So that is everything for Elemental Shaman in World of Warcraft Legion in terms of their abilities and their artifact weapons. I love their artifact weapon. I think it's just so cool. This is my favorite shield in game probably, just because it's so compact. And you know, for something like a female Draenei, and maybe a dwarf as well, dwarves in general as well, compact shields I think look really nice on them, especially the female Draenei, because their tail kind of sticks out and ruins shields. So I really do like the small shields, and I think it's going to look really nice on characters in Legion. I really do like that they've been able to stay true to how Elemental Shamans have been, while not while switching to this new Maelstrom system. And PvPers, I know you lost a bunch, but I do think that you gained a bunch in the fact that the shocks are now on their own separate cooldowns, and they have absolutely no cooldown on what you can use on them. You can just spam them away if you need to. Keep a melee away, you can just spam Frost Shock on them, and it will frustrate them. Having a 40-yard range snare is awesome. The only thing more annoying than this is Survival Hunter's ability to spam a 40-yard range actual route, which I guarantee you in the first few weeks people will be crying about all over the place, just because like this guy wouldn't let me move. So having that 40-yard range is pretty amazing, and I do think that you're going to love it. So, that's everything for Elemental Shamans in World of Warcraft Legion in terms of their abilities and artifact weapons. In the next video, we will look at the PvP talents and PvE talents coming to an Elemental Shaman. I hope to see you in that video. Otherwise, I will see you guys later. Teal us out.